Hey everyone, it's Janet here at Shenango County 4-H for today's fun afternoon activity, or whenever you get to it, because we're not live, we're actually taped. You can find us on Shenango County 4-H on Facebook and also our YouTube channel, Shenango County 4-H. Today what we're going to do is a really fun, exciting project, and probably better off for the little kids unless you really like embroidery. We're actually going to teach kids how to sew using cardboard. We're going to do a simple project. Putting a picture onto cardboard and then using either yarn, embroidery thread, or tatting thread to complete a picture. This is one of my cows. This is Lola that I put her picture on cardboard. I actually used a drill to drill the holes along the outline, and then I used a big embroidery needle and yarn to complete the picture. It takes about, from start to finish, about an hour to do. So, to get started, what we'll need for materials. So for today's project, our materials are going to include a picture, either a real picture of one of your animals or something you really enjoy, or some clip art. You're going to need a pencil, a big piece of cardboard to work on, especially if you're using a hammer, a nail, or the drill for today. A lightweight piece of cardboard to put your picture on. This is just recycled cardboard from a package of envelopes that I had. Hammer and nail to put the holes in if you'd like. A drill with a drill bit, fully charged of course. If you have thicker cardboard like I had for my first project, you'll need some big embroidery or tapestry needles. Then today I will be using some tatting string just because my picture is a lot finer than the cow, but you can also use embroidery floss, yarn, any sort of twine if you want to go rustic, anything that'll fit through the holes that you either punch in or drill. Because my picture is so fine today, I will be using a push pin to put the holes into my picture. Also, if you're a little cloverbud or unsure of yourself, especially if you need help using the drill, I recommend an adult to be there with you. You also may need some scissors to cut your string as you're sewing today. So to get started, what I've done is I've actually colored the back of my clip art just to save time for freehand drawing today while you're watching with some pencil. And what I'm going to do is use this as like carbon paper. I'm going to put my design onto my cardstock, my cardboard. This will work for wood too, especially if you have the drill, if you want to get really fancy today. And I'm just going to trace my design onto my cardboard. Make sure you hold it nice and steady, the paper that is, so that you don't move and your lines all line up. Now if you want, you can do an original design picture for your design today that you can draw. I was just trying to save a little bit of time. Just following my lines, tracing on. To create my picture. So I'll finish this up and then I'll show you the next step. All right, I'm going to hold this up to the camera. Hopefully you can see it. I have put my design on. You can see our unicorn. Our next step is to actually put in the holes that we're going to use to stitch through. So to do that, it's really important to either have a block of wood or a really thick piece of cardboard underneath your work surface, or as your work surface rather, so that you're not putting holes in mom and dad's table. Really important. So today, because it's such a fine design, instead of using the drill, which would give me some bigger holes, I'm going to use just a push pin to put some holes in my design. And basically it's going to look almost like some string art, except we're not punching nails in today. Now, if you have a really fine design like I do, you might want your holes a little bit closer together. You want smaller holes if you're using a finer design. If you have a lot of curves in your picture, holes that are closer together will actually give you more definition and fewer straight, choppy lines. So for my unicorn here, I'm actually putting my little punch holes fairly close together. If you can see what I've started, which doesn't look very good. Oh, there we go, get some light through it. I'm actually putting them together quite closely. I'm going to do this for the whole design, and when I'm done, we'll get started on our step of threading the string through and lacing or sewing our picture. This is why we use a big thick piece of cardboard or wood under our work surface. I have larger holes for my cow picture, and then I have all these smaller holes, even with a thumbtack, in the cardboard. So it's really good to have something on your work surface so that you don't scratch up the table. So we're just going to move everything out of the way. And my next step, my card here, which if I turn it some way, whoop, there we go. You can see all the holes that I've punched into my picture. So the next step is to decide which color, which part of the picture you want to begin working on. I'm actually switching to a smaller embroidery needle instead of a huge tapestry needle, just looking at the size of my holes here on my picture. So I'm actually going to start with the unicorn's horn because I have a small piece of gold here. And we'll get that threaded. This is another good point that if you're a clover bud and you need a little help threading needles, cutting your thread, your yarn, whatever you're using, to make sure you have a parent there with you. Once you have your needle threaded, somehow, you can either leave a short tail up by the eye of the needle, which is where you're threading through, or you can tie your thread to your needle if need be. This is much easier when I use embroidery floss, but I want something that's going to stand out and really show off the picture as opposed to the cardboard. If you're having trouble getting your needle threaded, you can wet it with your lips or fingertips, or just use a bigger needle. Alright, so this isn't going to thread through a littler needle. We're going to take the big tapestry needle. We're just going to enlarge our holes when we do this. I'm going to tie a knot at the end of my thread to keep it from pulling through. And I'm just going to stitch the horn. I'm going to come up from the back and come out the front. And what I'm simply doing is just a running stitch. You can skip every other hole, you can stitch into every hole and come back and fill it all in so you have an outline. Now I have some detail in the middle that I'm going to catch, so a good tip for this project, if you have intersecting lines, make sure your holes, when you punch them, line up with those intersecting lines. It just gives it a neater, cleaner look for your completed project. And if you misalign, don't worry, just unthread your needle, pull all of your thread out that you need to, and keep on going. Always make sure that you have enough thread in your needle, at least I like to, that I don't have to untie it as often or end your thread and start a new one. I like to use the longest piece of thread I can. On my cow picture, I used just one running long continuous piece of brown yarn yesterday. Alright, so when you've connected everything, you should see the horn of my unicorn all filled in with the detail in the middle. What I'm going to do is just flip my piece of cardboard over and just run my needle under my thread, creating a simple knot. So you're just going to run it through, catch the bunny loop, up through the bunny loop, whoop, whoop, pull it tight. We've got a nice little knot. Do a second one if you're concerned about it. Whoop, whoop. And then cut your thread. So what you're going to do for your whole project is just keep on threading it like this, choosing your colors and threading it. Let me put it a little bit closer. So I'll get to work on this while you guys are deciding what you want to do for your project, and I'll check back in when I'm done. All right, about half an hour later, and I have finished my picture, my little sewing picture or string art if you'd like. And if I compare it to my original, maybe not as many colors as the original clip art, but a really nice job nonetheless. So if you are looking for an activity to practice your stitching skills, get creative with some artwork, this is the project for you. I hope you had a great time watching this video and you try this project. Remember, find us on Facebook, Chenango County 4-H, and on YouTube, Chenango County 4-H. Have a great day.